Welcome back to From Corporate to Cashflow. We're Andrea Cannon and Liz Schwab, two pharmacists navigating the process of building time and financial freedom through real estate investing and lending while working our day jobs. Navigating the journey is difficult, but our podcast guests are experts in showing us how it's done. And today we have the wonderful and super knowledgeable Abraham Gray here with us. Abraham, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. I'm very excited for this. It feels like a celebrity. I'm sure you hear that all the time, so please feel free to tell me to
Oh,
shut up. But
you guys probably hear the same thing.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, how I wanted to start here is obviously, or not obviously, I had met you at a lending roundtable,
Yes.
and I just want to start off with this. My favorite thing about you is, how do I say this?
How
You're
good
kind of
looking?
like, what? Oh, yes, that
How
too.
good
Yeah.
looking I am. That's what I hear.
But, but I vibe off of like the bluntness. I hope that sounds okay as a blunt
Yeah.
person myself.
Mhm.
But when we were at the lending table, you said that you were like lending some money to your friend, and so on. Like you said, you're in a position that you don't normally lend at, and you like then followed up with, "Oh, he knows that I'll come and chop his foot off if he doesn't pay me." And I was like, "Yes, I've never related to anything more in my entire life." So I think that sets the precedence for all of this.
Yeah.
So with that being said, for maybe other people that aren't super familiar with you, can you just give us a little bit of background of, how you got interested in real estate and your journey to, I guess, where you kind of ended up now and what you're primarily focused on? So at a high level.
Yeah. So I started off, my parents got divorced when I was really young, and I ended up living with my mom for a little while by herself, and then didn't work out. I ended up moving with my dad for a year or two. And then from there, I just went from like foster family to foster family to foster family. Ended up in a boarding school when I was 13. And then when I was 14, 15, I left and went to a few more foster families, and then ended up in Atlanta toward the middle end of when I was 15 in moving in with my grandmother. And I've been with her for many years and then just bought my own place. Now, when I moved in with my grandmother, I started my first business when I was 15 selling baseball cards. I collected them when I was younger and it turned into a business. I started making money. It became addictive. It was fun. I was able to do more stuff. Like before I started making money, I had to listen to everybody, and I really hated listening to everybody. That's kind of why I kept getting kicked out and moving from place to place. And I realized as I made money, I didn't have to listen to people as much because I could kind of had the power to do what I wanted with my money. So it was just always my thing to be able to not have to, have my own freedom, not listen to people. So business was the thing. I was really into sports. I turned that into business, and then from there, I just learned more about business. I hung around people that were doing better than me in my business, got better, surpassed them, then started doing other businesses. And when I was 22, a friend of mine came to me and they're like, "Man, like you're making tons of money in business. Why don't you diversify and get into real estate?" And that person was big into real estate, so they showed me what they did. They actually
Mhm.
sold me a couple of their properties, and they were rentals. I actually still have a couple of the ones I bought from them in 1999. I still have today. I just
Wow.
sold the first ones I bought were in 1998, and I just sold those. I shouldn't have because I should have kept my first one, but I sold it a couple of years ago. But I still have some of the ones I bought in 1999 and 2000. But I got into that. I bought some rentals. Then I got some fix and flips, and then from there just kind of did all kinds of stuff. And then I've been doing business, real estate for a long time. I added lending to it probably 15, 20 years ago, where I lent a small amount of money to a few people, and then
Mhm.
I grew it. And then over the last 5 years, I just blew it up into a really big business and have uh, close to $30 million out all the time to different people for different
Cool.
fix and flip projects in pretty much in the Atlanta market, but a few other places in Georgia sometimes. And yeah, those are my three things that I focus on and work on every day: lending, buying, fix and flipping, and then I have lots of businesses. Like as you see in the background, those are like different businesses I have. I have over 50 something pictures all over the walls for different businesses I have and have had and sold and different things
Oh
like
my
that.
goodness. I thought that was just decoration. Okay, wow, that's
They're actual
that's
businesses.
im-
Yeah.
that's impressive. That's impressive. So it sounds like, I mean, obviously you became an entrepreneur at a very young age, with baseball cards, et cetera, et cetera. Where did you have a particular interest in real estate, or is that kind of just where things ended up going?
No, I never had interest in it particularly. I like sports when I was younger, But what's crazy is as you make money in something, it becomes more interesting. So
Yeah.
a lot of my businesses that I've had over the years that I made the most money on, I had zero interest in a lot of that stuff. But as I get
Hmm.
really good in it, man, it was very interesting. So, yeah, naturally, you're gonna stuff that you are successful with and stuff that you do good with, you're gonna find more and more interesting, even if you had no interest in the beginning.
Right. That totally makes sense. And then I know you said you lent money to a few friends initially. What even started that? Was it just someone coming to you, your friends being like, hey, are you interested in providing us money for so and so? And you're like, sure. And then you're like, oh, I got my money back. I'm going to keep doing it. Or like,
Yeah.
how did that even get set up for you?
Yeah, so I was doing fix and flips at the time, and people are like, "Oh, what? How are you getting the money to do the fix and flips?" I'm like, "I'm just using my own money. You know, the money I make in business, I use for my fix and flips." They're like, "Oh, wow. Well, I'm doing some fix and flips. I'm having, a hard time borrowing money, or the rates are this, or it just takes too long to get it. If you have extra money, I'll pay you. Like, what rates do you want?" And
Hmm.
that's kind of how it started. And I did it with like one or two friends, and then eventually, more people, and then they referred people, and then that's how it grew and turned into. I realized so up until I would say about 5 or 6 years ago, 5 6 years ago, I used all my own money for all my lending.
Mm.
And about 5 or 6 years ago is when I started getting investors to give me money because people were like, "Well, shit, you're lending all your money. Um, why aren't you lending more money? Like you're lending $10 million of your own money. Why aren't you lending 15?" I was like, "Well, I have $10 million put aside that I want to lend. I don't really have more that I want to put into it." So people are like, "Well, wait a second. What interest rate are you getting?" And I told them,
Hmm.
and they're like, "Well, wait a second. I have extra money. If I give you money, do you think you could loan more than 10 million out?" I was like, "Yeah, I turn people down every so often, and I'm not really aggressively trying to find new people. It's just most of the people I'm lending to are people that just come to me, repeat people, stuff like that, or just referrals."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Yeah, sure." So then a couple people gave me $1 million, $500,000, and I lent it out, and then I paid them, a certain amount, and then I made 50% more to what I was lending, so I made a good return. So then that's when I starting to get investors and using their money and making more money. So about a third of the money or 30% of the money that I lend out now is my money, and the other 70 whatever percent is other people's money.
Hmm. So, question. Maybe everyone has different personalities, right? And some work better with lending, some work better with not lending. Do
Uh-huh.
you still get nervous when you lend with or take other people's money to do
I don't,
deals
I
with?
don't, I don't get nervous ever because I'm so confident in what I do. I know it so well.
Uh-huh.
If I didn't know it very well, I'd be very nervous. So
Yeah.
anytime I do something I'm not like super familiar with or I'm not 100% about, I get nervous. But I know this market so well. I've been buying and selling homes, like I said, for a long time. So since I was 22, so that's
Hmm.
28 years. I know the markets. I've seen the ups, the downs, all the different things. I loan money to people only in areas that I buy in myself. So if someone doesn't pay me, I just take the property from them. And in Georgia,
Hmm.
it takes 30 days to get to foreclose and take the property back. So I know worst comes to worst, someone doesn't pay, I get the property back, and I'm gonna make the same amount of money or more money because I could make a little bit of money on it. Now, the reason why I'm super confident taking other people's money is because I know if something went bad, I could pay them back. I have a lot
Hmm.
of money, right? So like if for some reason I lost hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars on different deals, which it'd be very hard, but if something like that happened, I could now get money, that I have, or I could sell a few things and get the money and pay everyone back. So I'm not really nervous that I'm taking their money. I just make sure that I'm safe when I'm loaning a good amount to where if someone doesn't pay me, I can take it back and sell it even for more than what they owe me.
Hmm. Okay, perfect. No, that totally makes sense.
And that's
And
that's the reason. That's one of the main reasons why I only lend in the Atlanta market. Because that's what I do. I buy stuff within an hour north, east, south, or west of here. So that's where I lend them because I'm super comfortable. Now I don't lend in other states. I don't lend really much further away in Georgia, except to a few people once in a while, just because I have relationships with them. But for the most part, I only lend in Atlanta. Definitely only in Georgia. I know the laws here, the foreclosure laws, and I know the area, so I know what I can get for it really fast if I need to take it and sell it.
yeah. And then the benefit obviously is that you are physically there, so you can go punch people in the throat as well if you need to get your money. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
always good.
I
You're like,
usually just I usually just choke them out, but yeah, punch them out, whatever.
all
So
right. And then I know maybe Andrea you guys can talk about this a little bit more, that Andrea, you've lent money for some of his or one of his deals. Where do you typically source your funds from, or when you're trying to lend money from other individuals for your deals?
Where do I get money, or how do I find people that need money?
Where do you get money?
Where do I get money? I just call
Yeah.
Andrea, and then I'm like,
Yeah,
Andrea, I
just
need your money. Like, no, but seriously, this is the way I do most of my business in general. Forget about just lending. I post about a lot of what I do. And by posting about what I do, a lot of people see the success stories and see what I'm
Mhm.
doing. And I don't even ask people for money most of the time. People just kind of like, oh, I see you're doing this. Do you have any other opportunities? It's way easier to post just stuff and have people reach out to you than for us to reach out to other people. And it's just an easier sell. So
Yeah, for sure.
I that's probably how I get a lot of it. A lot of it's referrals, and I do make a post or just talk to people every once in a while. But I really rarely try to go out and raise money that much because I do have a lot of money that people offer me all the time. And a lot of the people that give me money now have been giving me money for years, and they just see that how good it is. Like I always pay everyone before the first of the month. Uh,
Hmm.
Never late. Most time people get paid even a day, 2 days, 3 days early, and they refer their friends and everything else. So a lot of the people that loan me money are people that are referrals and people that see my post. And then again, I do talk about it sometimes where I'll post that, yeah, I'm looking for more money, but it's not even that often because I have so much steady flow coming anyway. But if anyone that's ever borrowed money from me or that loaned me money or whatever, they could all tell you that they get paid back sooner than they think, and always on time, and everything's exactly the way it's said, and that there's never any issues. Where most people that lend money to people have headaches, like they get paid late, they get delayed. I mean, there's just always, I've heard every story you could possibly hear, and uh, anyone, out of 1,000 people that I've got money from, you can talk to every one of them, and they're like, "Holy shit, I've never had this good of experience." So it's just easy. It just naturally comes, and I have a big, track record from so many people. Another way I get a lot of money is, we're in sub two in Gator, and in those groups, I have a lot of people in those groups that lend me. I would say that a good amount of the money that I get from people are in those groups. And then I do a lot of events. So I speak at a lot of local events. I speak at a lot of events out of town. I do some private money masterminds. I do some business masterminds, some real estate stuff. I speak at events. And when I talk at those events, I talk about different things I do. And then you get a bigger following. And then a lot of those people end up asking me how they can invest with you or do different things with you. And I just tell them, look, you can sell me properties. You can borrow money from me. You can, be an investor, one of my investors that loan money out. And I just tell her all the different things people could do. And then naturally, I always get more people from that. So a lot of it's pretty natural. But those are some of the ways. But there's a few other ways. But those are the biggest ways I do it. So how come you lend? How come you invested with me and loan money, Andrea? How do you end up doing it?
Yeah, I mean, so I heard about you from the private money lending mastermind that you and Alexis Morgan did.
Mhm.
Both me and Liz were virtual attendees to
Yep.
that event. And then obviously I'm in Sub 2 and in Owners Club and have seen, what you've been doing. And Liz and I both decided last year that maybe owning the rental properties wasn't nearly as fun as lending on them. So we both still own property, but are a lot more focused now on the lending side just
Yeah.
because we still work our W 2 jobs. We're both pretty busy. I do a lot of traveling myself. So there's just a lot of other things going on that lending is maybe a little bit better fit for our lifestyles. And then security is like the number one thing, and doing it with someone that we trust. And so your reputation really, speaks for itself. And I think that really goes a long way. I mean, I haven't heard of anybody, like you said, who's had a bad experience lending with you. And so
Never
that's
will. You never will.
and that's what we're going for. Because I think, people all the time, we're in communities where people talk about you get a 50% return in X amount of days, you get 100%, all these other crazy things that sound potentially really amazing. But there's also a chance you can lose a significant amount of money as well,
Mhm.
and or not get your principal back. And that really sucks and is not something that either of us are interested in. And especially when it comes to, telling other people about the opportunities as well. It's one thing to potentially lose your own money, but it's a completely other thing to lose someone's money on your
That's a
behalf.
horrible feeling. That's a horrible feeling.
Yeah, yeah. And so I want to talk about just thinking about that specifically. Not everyone on here is a real estate investor already, so who listens to this. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about you explaining the kind of the security behind how you do your lending.
Yeah, so I do it very uniquely compared to most people, but there's only like a couple legal ways to invest to raise money. So I have a fund. So a lot of people put money in the fund, and that's one way, and it's regulated by the SEC and everything else, and I have to pay for every person, every state they're in, and yearly filings and stuff like that. That's one way. That's not the way I don't think you're doing it. The other way that you can do it is where you don't have any control of the other person's money and you don't have any say so. So that's the way I do it with most people now. And the way that I do it where everyone's secure is no one ever sends me money. I never touch any money. So every single time I have an investor, they always wire money to the title company or the closing attorney. And then when the property sells, the buyer gives the money, sends the money to the closing attorney, and the closing attorney or or title company will wire you the money. So because I never have control of any money and can't decide what to do with it, that's another way that I can do it. So that's the way I mainly do it. The only money that I ever have control of is the interest. So every month I'm the one that collects the interest from the borrowers and I'm the one that pays the investors, right? So you don't even know like how everyone pays me, but I would say 20% of the people pay me by the first, and then 60% of the people pay me between the first and the fifth, and then the other, whatever, 20% of 15% of people pay me between, the sixth and they're late, right? So, but you never know that because I pay you regardless before the first, no matter if they're late or not. So you don't even know. But so that's the only thing I have control of. The other thing I have no control, I don't have any control of is if you're going to invest money into a deal or not. You have full control. So what we do is, if you call me, you're like, I have this much money to invest, and I have this date to, I want to invest it by this date, or this is when I'll have it. I just send a list of all the properties I have with the amounts that I approve the lending, and I just will show you, look, this is what I think it's worth. These are the pictures. This is what I think it's worth now. What I think it's worth afterwards. Here are comps. Whatever you ask me for, I'm gonna give you. But you 100% decide what you're gonna do, and you're on every single paperwork. So I'm not on anything. Like if I died, you're super safe because nothing's in my name. None of this collateral is in my name. So it's all in the investor's name. So the things that you need to have is the security deed or deed of trust, whatever, depending on the state. That is always going to be in the investor's name. The promissory note is always going to be in the investor's name. The insurance, if the house burns down, is always going to be in the investor's name as a lost payee. If title insurance, if something was wrong with title, you have a lender's policy. It's all in your name. Nothing's in my name. The only thing that's in my name is me and you have a JV agreement that we both signed. It's like one page, and it says, look, I am collecting 18% a year, and I'm paying you 12%. I'm making the 6% as a management fee. For the management fee, I'm going to make sure you always get the money on time. I'm going to collect the money. I'm going to make sure I underwrite the deal, and I'm going to show you all the deals. And none of these deals I'm showing you, you're forced to do. You can decide whatever you want to do. And I send you a list of deals every single week, or whoever asks for it, and they get to pick what they want to do. I have a lot of people that will pick anything. I have a lot of people that are picky and they'll be like, no, I don't like that. I don't like that. Or ask me a million questions. And we answer everything and we let them decide. And they're not even doing anything with me. They're doing it directly with the title company and directly with the borrower. And I have a management agreement that I'm helping you make sure you collect the money. And then I actually personally guarantee it also. So if there is something wrong, then I will end up owing you whatever happens. So that's kind of the way it works. So again, the security, two most important things is the deed of trust security deed, which is the lien on the property. And by the way, the other thing is every single loan that I do that I have investors for are all first position. So if you don't have to worry about you being in second position and figuring out what's going on. There's a whole lot of risk to that as well. I do some second position loans, but it's like literally 1 or 2% of what I do on the high side. And I only do those with myself. I don't even have investors on those because they are more risky, and I don't want to have investors on. And even if they're risky, it doesn't matter for the investor because I personally guarantee it. So like, if something goes wrong, I end up paying them anyway. But still, it's just I don't even want investors in those. I want them only in first position, safe, super safe loans. Because if I get hit by a truck, you're super safe in first position. If not, if I die, then you have to worry still about a second position loan. So that's the reason why I only do first position loans with investors. But the other thing is every single loan that I do is in Georgia, And in Georgia, if someone doesn't pay you, you could take the property back from them in 30 days. So it's a very fast process. And I want to make sure that people can get their property and money back in. Um, if I die, there's other people in my office that you can talk to. There's Nitin, there's, whatever, all these other people that and they could, take over what I need to take over. And if you have any questions, they could show you who our foreclosure attorneys are, who could sell all the properties really fast and all these different things. So it's very liquidable and very good. But again, you have the security deed, which is a lien on the property. You have the promissory note that shows all the terms. And those are the two most important things. With those two things, you could foreclose. And then, of course, we talked about you having the title insurance, the insurance if the house burns down, and then personal guarantees from me. I also get personal guarantees from the from the borrower. But the problem with personal guarantees in general is that it's only as good as the person that's doing the personal guarantee. So a lot of the borrowers that I have, if they don't have much money, then the personal guarantee isn't worth much. That's why I also personally guarantee it because I'm worth a lot, and you're going to get the money if something happens because you come after me for whatever I have, which is a lot of stuff. So so that makes everyone feel pretty secure as well.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to me that you're doing this business and it's so hyper focused in the greater Atlanta area, so that you have your foreclosure attorneys and everything. I hear all the time people lend nationwide and they do all these things. And like you're talking about, and just to clarify, you have $30 million
Yeah.
out, and that's in Atlanta specifically.
I would say 95% of it's within an hour drive of Atlanta. The other 5% might be within like a 3 hour drive of Atlanta, but they're all in Georgia for sure.
And
So
that makes it much more secure as well, because you have those trusted individuals you've worked with that are on your team that are backing you up in case something did happen.
yeah, and I have contractors that could get anywhere or do anything in case something happened. And once in a blue moon, I'll do a loan somewhere else, like Pace and Noah Hoffman and Munif Saza owns a big like apartment together in Florida, and I loaned them money in the beginning on that a few times as they needed rehab. But it's like I know Pace and them own it. I'm not worried. I'd loan him money in any state, right? Doesn't matter. So, but pretty much besides like some crazy circumstance like that, I only do Georgia, and mainly just within an hour drive of Atlanta.
I think that helps with like the credibility too, right, Andrea? So whenever anyone's loaning money to you, I think it helps that you're like hyper focused in a particular area rather than someone being like, "Hey, are you sure you know how to comp that area in another state that you don't live in or any you're not familiar with at all?"
And that
So, you
that
know.
is that is a really important thing. Like people that loan money in all these different states, I mean, they're gonna have problems. They're gonna lose money on some deals. Like they might make extra money on some deals, but they're gonna lose on some deals. Overall, if they keep doing it, there's gonna be problems. First off, nobody's good enough to comp every single area in the country. It's just impossible. Like I could comp as good
Mhm.
as anybody, but if I don't live in somewhere and I don't buy and sell in that area, there could be like little nuances that this street could be better than this street and that street could be like I have no idea. When I'm
Yeah.
comping, I can screw up and all of a sudden, oh, that school zone's not as good as this school zone or just not know something. If I only do a certain area that I buy and sell so much in, I pretty much know all the nuances. So it's very hard to do it all over the country unless you're just super safe on the lending. But then you also need to have foreclosure attorneys, know the foreclosure laws, know the usury
Mhm.
laws, and just there's so many things you have to know in every state that it's okay to pick a few states and do it, but to do the whole country is just you got to really be safe and know what you're doing. Most people
Yeah.
that I know that are private money lenders end up losing money on a bunch of deals.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And, this might be controversial. I have a question. So, I hear a lot of times people say don't get into lending unless you are okay with losing money. How do
Mhm.
you feel about that? Do you agree with that statement? Like,
I
do you
100,
think
I
that it's
100%.
okay to assume that you're going to lose money?
I 100% agree with that. So
Mhm.
you should not lend money unless if you lose that money, you're still gonna not like you're still gonna be okay. It's not gonna make you homeless because
Mhm.
anytime you loan money, there is that chance that you can lose. Sometimes it's a very small chance, and sometimes it's a big chance. But
Yeah.
just know that if you're lending money, don't lend your last dime. That like if you need that back in 5 months from now, you don't get it, you're gonna be homeless. Like that's just silly, unless you're so confident that it's gonna happen. But still, you should be a little bit safe and not do that. Like I don't like borrowing money. I don't like borrowing money from people that are giving me their last money.
Yeah.
Like the most pain people to deal with, and and they're in pain because the people that loan you the least amount of money are the most difficult people to deal with. And it's not their fault. Like I would be the same if I was them. The reason why the people that are loaning you their last little bit of money, it's a small amount of money, that means so much to them. And if they lose it, like they're in deep crap. And
Mm-hmm.
those are people that I even care more about. I mean, I care about everyone, but like if they lose it, you feel even really bad. Although no one's ever going to lose it with me, but those are the people that are the hardest. They're going to ask for the most questions, the most this, the most, because that really means something. And that's smart. That's what they should do. The people that loan me $500,000, $1 million, or crazy amounts of money, you'd be shocked. They're like, here's the money. I'm like, here, let me show you what I think it's worth. I don't care. Like it's crazy. Like they'll loan
Yeah,
you
yeah.
without even like blinking an eye and even like asking you these questions. And the person that loans you 50,000 or even 20,000, like, or sometimes if you do like fractional and you do like 5,000s or 10,000, those are the people that are going to be the most like time consuming people to deal with because it means
Yeah.
so much. So don't lend it unless you know that you're comfortable if something crazy happens, or let's just say you don't think you're going to lose it, but let's just say you think you're going to get it back in 6 months and it takes 10 months. That's not losing it, but that could also be a problem. You got to make sure that if you expect to get it back in 6 months, know that it could be later. And I'm not talking about deals with me, but I'm talking about just deals with other people in general, because
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
so many stories where people lost their money and like that was all their money and they like want to kill themselves. And then I've seen people just not get their money back on time. They got their money, but not on time, and maybe not all their interest they're supposed to get. And it just frustrates people so much. Just know that's a possibility. And so that's, again, knowing who you're dealing with, knowing that that you have full control of
Mm-hmm.
everything. You have the security deed, promise, everything's in your name. So if something happens, you could do something. Because a lot of people I see also, they will give people money and none of this security is in their name. It's in the other person's name. And they're just giving money on a JV agreement or on a promissory note like that without having a lien. And you have no control. And again, that's illegal for people to collect money like that from people that have full control of people's money. And that's where I see people lose the most, or people loan in second position, third position, they don't understand it. And before you know it, a lot of people like that lose their money because so I would say definitely know there's a possibility to lose your money, especially depending on who you're lending it to. And the higher interest rate that someone promises you, the more likely that you're going to lose the money because it sounds good. So, it's risk reward. The more you're going to get, the more risky
Right.
usually deals are. So
Yeah.
you
To
just
your
have
point, we see posts like that all the time, right? Oh, I just lost my whole life savings, or et cetera, et cetera. I just
yeah,
promised a good return. So, obviously, I'm sure you've had to learn a lot of, hopefully not too many, but many lessons throughout your journey. So,
yeah.
specifically talking about you lending money, can you tell us maybe like an oh crap moment, or just maybe you didn't have an oh crap moment, but just a big lesson that you learned?
I've had plenty
Yeah.
in everything I've
Okay.
been through. Don't worry. Anyone that tells you they didn't is a liar, by the way.
Okay, good, good, good. So maybe if you have one or two that you wish that you would have knew when you first started lending, can you just maybe share those with
Yeah,
us?
there's so many things. And so I literally learn more and more every single year. Even now, I still learn stuff. Like there's stuff I know now I didn't know last year, which is crazy because I thought I knew everything, but there's just so many different nuances and stuff like that. But some of the stuff that I did in the beginning that I don't do now is I used to loan money in multiple states, and I found out that some states it takes forever to get foreclosed, and it's not even easy to get a foreclosure attorney. Sometimes it could take 6 months, a year, or even longer. So I quit doing other states. The other thing that I learned that was really bad was second position loans. I didn't realize, this is a long time ago, but I didn't realize in the beginning what that even meant. So I just figured, look, if you're going to loan someone 100,000 on a property because it's worth way more than that, that if they have an $80,000 loan in first position, you can just loan them 20 because the 80 and 20 is 100,000. So that's the same difference, right? Not at all. So what I learned lessons on, I did more second position loans in the beginning. Because
Mhm.
why did I do more second position loans in the beginning? Because they paid more interest. I made bigger returns, but the risks were stupid. And I didn't realize it. And then over a course of a year, I was like, holy crap, I lost on a lot of deals on second position. In the first position, I didn't lose on any. But in second position, the first position lender has all the power, so they could do all kinds of crazy stuff. First off, if you don't pay the first position lender, they have late fees, they have penalties, they have extra interest charges, they have attorney fees, foreclosure fees. There's all these different fees. So you think they're owed 80,000, and by the time you get paid off, they're owed 100,000. So your 20,000 is gone, with all their costs. The other thing that's really, really crazy that happened, luckily not to me, but to a friend of mine that told me the story, and I checked into it, and it's 100% you can do it, is as a first position lender, you're allowed to, now it depends on what it says in the security deed or deed of trust, whatever, but there's different paragraphs that I have in all mine where I can do it, and most people probably could if they know what they're doing, if this is something that matters to them. In my security deeds, I have a thing that says at any point I could refinance the loan and give them more money or do whatever, and it stays in first position, right? So as a second, third position lender, if you don't read through all the security deeds and all the different phrases and see what the promissory notes, what the charges are, what the interest payments are, what late fees are, you could get really screwed. So I have it to where if you borrow 100,000 from me in first position, and then you go to somebody else and borrow 50,000 in second, I could, after you borrow that 50,000, in theory I should be in third position, but I could lend them another 100. I could lend you another 100,000 and keep it in first. So now that $100,000 loan became a $200,000 loan. The second position lender now has 50,000 behind both loans because I have in there I could add money to my loan at any point. Now it's in my security deed, so the second position lender should have read that and realized that and known the risk ahead of time, but they usually never do and don't. So that's something that I've seen happen to a friend where he loaned in second position. First position added another 100,000 to the loan. He had no equity. He thought he had $50,000 equity. He had zero. He lost all his money because of that clause.
Wow.
I've also seen where people have like late fees of like tens of thousands of dollars if they're over this period of time or this period of time, for big loans. And before you know it, like you could be $50,000 behind just on late fees and interest payments and attorney fees. So second position is really risky. So the only time I ever lend second position, which again I very rarely ever do now, but if I do, it's someone I know very, very well. There's so much equity. It's like it would be very hard to get screwed. And I 100% go in knowing that there's a good chance I could lose all my money. But knowing the person is probably the most important thing in second position. Like in first position, I'll loan money to anyone. I don't even care who it is. Like I don't care if they've done all kinds of stupid stuff in the past. I know what the property is worth, and I know what I could get for it. The worst thing somebody could do is probably file bankruptcy, which could delay foreclosing an extra 2 months. So I've had people file bankruptcy right before I foreclose, and it adds another couple months, and I have to pay to lift their bankruptcy and stuff like that. That's probably the worst thing. But even with that, it adds like instead of foreclosing in 1 month, maybe it takes 3 months. 4 months, the worst case. That's even with the bankruptcy. So that's the worst case, and that's if a person is just trying to be a total ass. But it doesn't happen that much. So in first position, I don't care about the person. Second position, the person's so crucial. It's like any person could screw you if you're a second position lender in a lot of different ways. I told you a couple ways, but there's a lot more ways that they could screw you. So you just got to be careful. Oh, the other thing that I learned that's really, really important is in the beginning, I used to loan money to people, and people are like, oh, can I just pay you all the interest in 6 months when we pay off the loan? And I did that a few times, and I would charge people a little bit extra for it, but instead of paying monthly interest. And I have noticed that half the deals I did like that had problems. So I don't allow anyone to do like balloon payments, especially not 6 months. If it was, it would be like 2 months, whatever. But I always collect monthly interest payments. And what that does is, first off, you're always getting some money. You're getting money from the person. So the person's like, oh, shit, I'm paying them every month. Let me hurry up and get this done and make sure, and then also, if there's a problem, at any single point, there's a problem right away because you didn't get paid. So you don't have to figure this out 5, 6 months later, 10 months later when the balloon hits that, oh shit, there was a big problem this whole time I didn't know about it. You're going to know right away there's a problem because the person didn't pay you, and you could, do something right away to where you're only losing that 1 month of interest and, whatever else instead of 10 months, and having that money go to waste. So obviously there's a lot more lessons, but those are some of the big ones that I would say. If you ever do balloon payments where you tell someone, look, they could pay you at the end, again, you got to really, really vet the person, or loan them a very, very small amount of what it's worth, a lot less than normal, because you could potentially lose a lot more months of interest and not getting paid. That happens a lot. So, but put in perspective, when I do first position loans, I probably have out of 100 people, less than one person that goes bad, like less than 1%. So less than 1% of my deals in first position, I have a problem with. Now, I might foreclose on one out of every, I might foreclose out of like 2 or 3 out of every 100, but But most of the time, there's plenty of equity. I get the money back pretty easy. I even make more money. But I would say less than 1% of the time, there's a problem where I break about even, or it's a little bit more of a hassle, and I don't get right. And second position loans, I would say that I probably lose money almost half the time.
Wow.
So out of half, I would say if I loan 10 people second position loans, unless you know them really, really well, 5 times you're gonna have a problem. Out of one time out of 100, if you're doing first position loans. So that's 1% to 50%. That's how big of a difference that
That's
matters.
that's so different. I think that's one of the main things that made me and Liz want to do and focus on first position lending, which is what we're doing now. Because, we went to these lending roundtables, we talked and networked with everyone, and there's so many people that were telling us about their losses in second position, and they're like, "Yeah, we've been doing second position, but we're pivoting to first position because, we just lost money and we just want more security and all these different things." And so Liz and I were just like, "Why don't we just listen to these people?" And just skip all that and then go
I
straight
mean,
to.
look, you can make more money doing second position loans, but it's not worth the risk unless you're just so damn comfortable, and you just really can't be unless you're lending it to like Pace or something like that. You know what I mean? Like if you're lending to someone like that, you could lend them whatever you want second position. You're fine. You never have to worry about it. But that's the type of person that you have to lend to if you're doing second position, because anybody else will screw you. I've literally had good friends of mine, right, that I've done lots of business with, that I've loaned second position loans because they're friends of mine, that screwed me over. Like screwed me over. I couldn't believe it. Like I couldn't believe in a million years that they would do that.
Oh
And
my gosh.
and some of them are like, oh, I'm gonna make it up to you, but it's been like a year or 2 years. They haven't given me hardly anything. It's like they say they're gonna make it up, but the truth of the matter is some people just can't, even if they want to. They just don't have the means to. So some people mean well. I'm sure I know all these people meant really well when they did the loan. They didn't expect it to happen,
Yeah.
but things happen. People do stupid stuff. They blow money. They who knows, and they do stupid decisions, and then they run into if everyone was smart, then everybody would be rich.
Yeah. Well, so tell me, you've obviously had a great career of, business and real estate and lending. What are some of the habits that you developed like to, function on a day-to-day basis to balance everything and move all your businesses forward simultaneously?
So I would say the thing that made me the most successful in business and all this stuff is I'm probably first to anything. Like I'm the fastest person you're gonna know. If you send me emails, if you ask me to do something, I respond to everyone super fast. I could get back to everyone really fast. I can make decisions like in a second. So I'm really, really fast like that. I think that in general in business helps me surpass everybody else because no one else can make a decision fast, and very few people. If you look at the most successful people, I guarantee you they're the quickest, um, because that's what people want to deal with, and they're going to have an advantage over everybody else because they're going to beat everybody else to the best deals. They're going to beat everybody else to everything else. Um, then, of course, I never wanted to waste money. So every single penny I ever made, I really just reinvested and made sure that I didn't waste any money. Because all the money I got, I had to bust my ass for, and I worked really hard for, and I just didn't like blowing money. So you'll never see me like just with buying stupid stuff, especially when I was younger and didn't have as much money. So like I'm pretty, I make sure that my money, goes wisely and spends wisely, and I reinvest everything that I can. And the other thing is, I know I'm not great at everything. Nobody is. And so whatever I want to do, I find other people that are good or better than me or done it longer, and I learn from them, and I partner with them, and I help them in different ways for them to help me. So I've done that ever since I was little. I still do that today for different things that I want to do. And that has helped me because you don't have to make a ton of mistakes. You can learn from other people. So obviously there's a lot more things, but I would say, for this, those are some of the most important things that got me, to where I'm at and successful at, every stage of my career and my life.
Yeah, this probably sounds super obvious, but I can't tell you how many times this theme has come up on our podcast, the people that we have been speaking to, when we say, how did you come into your success, or, tell us about your journey. And so many of them say that they're replicating like behaviors of people that were successful that they wanted to be like. And like I said, it sounds so obvious, but so many people don't do that, right? But I mean, like you just said it yourself, you found someone, like they helped
Yeah.
guide you, and you do the same thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. 100%. And just to give you like examples of it, and people will say this all the time too, but people are like, what do you do? And I say, look, I do single family. I focus on Atlanta. the market, and they're like, well, you don't do multifamily, you don't do RV parks, you don't do, I'm like, no, like, well, there's so much money in land, there's so much money in this. Why don't you do
Yeah.
it? I'm like, there's a lot of money in everything if you're good at it, and you have someone that could train you and show you how to do
Yeah.
it. I got so good at what I do because I learned that from somebody, and I've perfected it, and I'm so good at it. I mean, yeah, people that are really good at multifamily won't do single family because they'll lose money in single family. People that are good at single family won't do multi. People that are good in commercial, so RV parks or whatever you want to call it. So people always are like, why don't you do this? Or why don't you do stuff in, a different state? Or why don't you do that? I have everything perfected. Don't do stuff in other places because unless someone's shown you how to do it that knows how to do it and shows you, like, I have no problem doing RV parks and all this other stuff and land. There is great money in it, but I
Hmm.
wouldn't just do it now because I don't know enough about it. I need someone
Right.
that's an expert at it that's made a ton of money to do it with me, and then I feel comfortable, and then I potentially might consider doing it. So besides the fact that I'm too busy to even do what I'm doing now, to do more stuff, but more importantly, I know that I probably will make stupid mistakes because I don't know it as good as other people. They're going to have advantage over me.
Yeah, no, for sure. I totally agree with that by far. We, I say that a lot too, right? Everyone's like, "Oh, what about this? What about this? What about this?" Like, why don't we just focus on one thing for now and like be good, really good at that, right?
Mhm.
Instead of like kind of partially knowing so many things and not being able to move it forward. So I can definitely relate to that sentiment. So I know you've already shared like a lot of your lessons, obviously, it's like a position, et cetera, et cetera. But let's shift gears to maybe someone that's new in their not real estate journey, but just like financial freedom journey. Whether it be like your family members, your children, or just someone that's completely new. They're getting older and like, oh crap, I should probably start learning more about finances. What would be like a 30-second piece of advice to someone that's new on that journey?
Well, first off, we just talked about it, but definitely you've got to get around people that are successful, that are good at what you want to learn. So, you go to meetups, you join mentorships, you have friends, family, whatever that are good at stuff. You've got to learn as much as you can from everybody. Like, it's crazy not to learn as much as you can from everybody. I would say that's the most important thing. I would say in general, the other thing that's really important in life to be successful is just to be super positive and as likable as possible. You want everyone to like you to some degree. That's one of my other strengths. I could go anywhere and people just like me. I know what to say to people. I know how to say stuff. Like, there's 20 different ways to say something to someone, and there's probably 3 or 4 ways they're gonna love you. There's probably like 3 or 4 ways they're gonna hate you, and there's all these in the middle that's somewhere in between. You can say the same thing so many different ways. So I know how to talk to people to make them feel the best about it, or make them like me the most, or to trust me the most. So I would say you've got to get everyone to trust you and like you as much as possible. Because if someone trusts you and like you, they'll pretty much do anything that you want. Like, if you like and trust someone, I don't think there's anything you wouldn't do for someone, within reason, right? But if you don't trust someone or you don't like them, the odds of you doing anything for someone is almost zero. Like, you're not going to. So you have to get people to like and trust you. There's so many different ways to do it. I would get with people that are good at it. Obviously, there's plenty of books to read, even though I've never read a book. But you could learn online and all these different things, and get around people that are really likable. Between that and learning from people that are really good at stuff, I think those are the two biggest keys that I would say everyone should do.
Yeah, that's some really good advice. And I mean, I think, you show people that you're likable and trustworthy by everyone. If you have not seen his Facebook posts, you should go check them out. When he's buying properties, he's going to fix and flip. He will take pictures in like the bathroom with like a random plunger, or like out in the yard with a rake, or something just hilarious. And so it's very like, I every single time I see your Facebook post, I chuckle, like every single time. And I know that you're having that effect on everyone because it's pretty
Yeah.
hilarious. I've never seen anyone else do that before.
Yeah, so that's another important thing that everyone should do. They should do something that is sets themselves apart from other people. Like, do something unique, something memorable, but also at the same time do it in a way where other people get some sort of pleasure out of it. Whether they laugh, whether they whatever, learn something from it. So those are all different things that are so easy to do. I do that a lot of different ways. So yeah, one way is by posting different stuff, and I try to be silly or just do stuff in weird ways, just so people aren't serious all the time. Like, if you go to events and hear me talk at different events, I try to be very humorous, and I try to just say stuff like that is going to get people to be able to do stuff really fast, and change their life in different ways, and enjoy listening and laughing, and learning at the same time.
I love that. I love that so much. Well, we have a little bit of an oddball question for you. Both Liz and I have a very strong interest in traveling and exploring the outdoors as well and building our lifestyle beyond just making the money piece. So we want to hear if there's any particular bucket list travel item you have coming up in the next year or so, or something you just recently accomplished if there isn't anything pending.
No, so I like going to different places. I don't like going to the same place over and over. So I do travel a bunch, and I'm always going to somewhere different. People are like, "What's your favorite place?" I mean, honestly, they're all good for different reasons. So, like, if you want to go to the beach, you go to certain places. If you want to go to, the cities, you want to go to this type of thing, this, so everything's cool for different reasons. I wouldn't say that there's any particular place I have to go, but I do like to travel to different places and just see different things. I know I'm going to see you then in October at the Owners Club event,
Yep,
right?
I'll be
Okay.
there.
So
And when I saw you in Montana, you were showing me some pictures of your trip to Santorini.
yeah, I went to Santorini to Greece. So yeah, that's the first time I went to Greece. My wife picked Greece. She wanted to go. So that was a trip we went on. We're actually going to Italy like in another next month. We're going. It's actually we weren't going to go, but a friend of ours is getting married there, and so it was just an excuse to go. So we're going like to Rome and Venice and all that. But yeah, but I try to go to different places in Asia and South America, just different places to see different things. I would say figure out what like you want to do. That you want to go to a beach type place, you want to go like to a mountain type place, a lake type place, and just kind of figure it out and find the best place for that. And also it depends on the time of year when you're going. Different places are cool. Like when we went to Montana, that was like the best time of the year. But I don't know that you'd want to go like in the middle of a snowstorm or something like that. So you just got to pick the right places to go at the right times also.
Absolutely.
So clearly the answer is Georgia. I'm just kidding. Surprised you didn't plug the
I love
state.
I love Georgia, but like every time my favorite part about a vacation is actually on the way back. I love coming back here, but
Oh, that's so nice.
yeah, it's so fun to get back. I always miss it, but no, I mean, I love everywhere I go for different things. Everything is like a unique experience, and I remember, and it's cool. And especially if you're with different people, you get those memories with them and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool to go. Really, where I love going places with my wife. I like going places with my kids. I like going places with everyone. I like going places with my friends. It's just all different, It's all different vibes. So that's the other thing. Depending on who you're going with, you're gonna pick different places as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm not trying to hike like 25-mile hikes every single day with Andrea, so I can relate to that. Yeah. All right. So, what is the best way for anyone listening or watching to get in contact with you if they want to work with you, give you money, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, so I am always answering all my emails is always best. So I can tell you my email address, but honestly, if you just friend me on Facebook, on Instagram, YouTube, I answer all my stuff, questions, any message that someone sends me on all of them. I usually once they 'cause it's easiest if you don't remember my email or don't have it, people could easily find me on social media, and they will just message me, and then once they message me, I'll be like, all right, for this type of stuff, let's just always email each other and then I'll give them my email and go from there. But I answer my emails like crazy lightning fast, and my messages on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, I answer at least daily, sometimes more than daily. But emails is the fastest, and anything you want to do, I'm always like I said, I'm always looking to buy more properties. So if you have properties to sell, I actually always have properties to sell as well. I have someone that does that for me, but I can always put them in touch with those. This is only in the Atlanta area, so I only do stuff buy or sell in the Atlanta area, like an hour in any direction. And then, of course, I'm always looking for people that want to borrow money in Atlanta for their projects. I'm always loaning money out, and I'm always looking for people that want to make good returns on their money and connect them with people that want to borrow money after I underwrite the deal and I know that they're good deals and I'll back them.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Abraham, for all of your knowledge. It's just been so fun to learn from you, not only in this podcast episode today, but just over the course of knowing you through my journey in Sub 2 and Owners Club. So really appreciate everything that you do and all the information that you shared here today. And thank you, everyone, for tuning into this week's episode of From Corporate to Cashflow. We will see you next week.